Good afternoon, students. In the last class, we have discussed about extrusion process and the methods of extrusion. In this class, lot more things to be discussed. Then, the contents of the video are extrusion of seamless tube production, extrusion of tube with fixed mandrel, extrusion of tubes with floating mandrel, extrusion of tubes using solid mandrel, extrusion process parameters, uh, metal flow and deformation in extrusion, extrusion force for direct and indirect extrusion, extrusion temperature, lubrication in extrusion equipment, extrusion die design, and extrusion die material. All these things to be discussed then. However, then production of seamless tubes finding a wider application. So, in industrial application, some of the tubes should be pressure tight and high temperature resistant. Those tubes are especially produced by extrusion process. Then, however, then extrusion of seamless tubes. Seamless pipes and tubes can be produced by extrusion using either a hollow billet or a solid billet. For this process, a mandrel is passed axially through the billet up to the die opening. The annular gap between the die and the mandrel decides the size of the tube to be extruded. So, in the figure, shows the use of mandrel passing through the hot billet to produce the tube. Then, in this, the mandrel is fixed to the end of the ram and passes through the hot billet when pressurized. As the metal is extruded, it passes through the annular gap between the die and the mandrel, thereby forming the hollow tube. The mandrel can also be fitted in a floating fashion, that it is clearly shown in the figure. Then, the production of hollow billet is expensive, and also the internal bores are get oxidized while heating, resulting in inaccessible and internal defects in the extruded tube. This problem can be overcome with the use of solid billet also. So, however, you look at the picture then. So, with the floating mandrel, how to produce the hollow tubes? Then, the production of hollow tubes produced by fixed mandrel, it is mandrel is fitted in a floating fashion. Better concentricity you can obtain, and even then production of hollow billets is expensive. Internal bore get oxidized and inaccessible and internal defects are formed then. So, however, then the mandrel, it is fixed to the ram. Then the ram movement and the mandrel is in the same direction. The annular gap between the mandrel and the die decide the thickness of the tube to be produced, so that it is clearly shown. But however, the mandrel, it is floating, it adjusts with the die hole, therefore concentricity of the die of the tube to be produced is more accurate than the fixed mandrel. So, thickness may be vary in the fixed mandrel, but in the floating mandrel it adjusts itself with the die hole, therefore concentricity of the die hole is more than. However, then the production of similar tubes with the floating mandrel is more accurate than the fixed mandrel. Then production of tubes with the solid billet. Then, so solid billet is first pierced by a mandrel and then extruded by the ram pressure. It is clearly shown in the figure. Then, so the mandrel, it is passes through the billet then initially. Then the billet and the mandrel together they force through the die opening. Therefore, it can continuously produce the hollow tube then. So, in this process, the solid billet is first pierced by a mandrel and then extruded by the ram pressure, Generally, the mandrel is actuated by a separate press then, moves coaxially with the ram and is independent of its motion. It is clearly shown the direction, the tube direction and the pressure direction, all it is clearly shown in the tube then. However, then both the solid use of solid mandrel, use of floating mandrel and use of fixed mandrel containing a consist a container and a ram. These ram it is operated hydraulically or by some other means then. However, then so heavy pressure it is required to what for the material to the die opening then, and even then the equipment should be more rugged than the rugged in all the three cases then. However, then production of tube it is somewhat different for different application, but all three processes can be successfully used for production of seamless tubes then. So those are clearly shown in the figures then what you have observed then. Then coming to the what extrusion process parameters or extrusion process variables. So the extrusion force required in extruding a metal depends on various parameters that include the geometric or material characteristic. The major process variables in extrusion process includes yield strength of the metal being extruded, the extrusion temperature, third one the degree of reduction also termed as extrusion ratio, the shape factor and the circumscribing circle diameter, that is CCD then, the die characteristic, lubrication type, ram speed and the type of extrusion process, either a direct or indirect or hot extrusion or cold extrusion, all you have to consider for type of extrusion process then. So you look at the what all these variable then, as we know then materials with low yield strength such as non-ferrous metals and alloys can be extruded easily and they require low extrusion forces as the extrusion temperature low extrusion process. And coming to the extrusion process, as the temperature increases the yield strength reduces and ductility increases, thereby decreasing the extrusion force. Then coming to the extrusion ratio, it is defined as the ratio of the cross sectional area of the billet to the what extruded part, and that it is given by the extrusion ratio R is equal to AI by AF. AI is the what initial cross sectional area and AF is the final cross sectional area. So however, for a given ductility the extrusion force increases with the increase in extrusion ratio or degree of reduction. For hot extrusion, typical extrusion ratios are of the order of 40:1 for steel, while it is high as 400:1 for aluminum. Obviously, it is a cold extrusion process that the extrusion ratios are very small. Coming to the shape factor then, or CCD, nothing but a circumscribing circle dia. The shape of the extruded part is described by a parameter termed the what circumscribing circle diameter, that is CCD. It is the diameter of the smallest circle into which the extruded cross section of the product. It is the diameter of the smallest circle into which the extruded cross section of the product. Thus, the extreme corner points of a given cross section define the CCD. For example, for a square and rectangular section, the diagonal length becomes the CCD then. Then shape factor is a parameter that describes the complexity of an extruded section. Shape factor is defined as the ratio of the perimeter of the extruded section to the cross-sectional area. A circular section has the lowest shape factor, but the complex shaped extrusions will have a larger shape factor. Higher CCD and shape factor means higher extrusion force necessary for extrusion of a given section. Coming to the die characteristic then, Characteristics such as the flat or conical dies normally used in extrusion process. Then the die opening section also controls the extrusion force. Flat dies are used for non-ferrous metals which require low extrusion forces. Then coming to the other characteristic, that is what lubrication. Then lubrication reduces the frictional losses at the die and container interfaces with the billet, thereby reducing the ram pressure. Other aspect, that is what ram speed. Then these speeds may range from 0.1 meter per second to 0.5 meter per second. It is general practice to use lower ram speeds for extrusion, requiring lower ram forces extrusions. Aluminium, copper, and magnesium alloys require lower ram forces. Higher ram speeds are used for steels, titanium, and higher strength alloys. These are all the what some of the variables or parameters that affect the what extrusion process. However, you can also consider direct, indirect extrusion forces are required for direct and indirect forces are very high, and hot extrusion it is less, but cold extrusion normally it is high. However, then all these will be decide the extrusion process. Then next aspect, that is what metal flow and deformation in extrusion process. The metal flow and deformation patterns are shown in the figure here. Then so first one, it is of what homogeneous deformation, and indicate the pattern in a billet before extrusion. That pattern it is shown in figure A, and in figure B nearly homogeneous extrusion, homogeneous deformation. Metal flow, it is actually in all the direction pressure distribution throughout the metal, it is uniform. Then and in the third figure, then so represented deformation with the container wall friction. So wall friction increases with insufficient lubrication. This is the what non-uniform metal deformation shown in the figure C. Then however, then so the metal flow and deformation in extrusion depends on various factors like extrusion pressure, die design, container characteristics, and lubrication conditions. So in the first figure, the various deformation patterns are shown here. Then in the first figure, indicate the grid pattern in a billet before extrusion, what I said. Then in the second figure shows a nearly homogeneous deformation, absence of friction and use of lubrication, which is a feature of well lubricated billet, hence low friction as as indicated in hydraulic extrusion process. So deformation is uniform till the die entrance. This is the what most desirable type of deformation, which leads to the what lower extrusion pressure, die wear, and minimum defects. Then coming to the third pattern, that represents the deformation with increased container wall friction with insufficient lubrication. This is the non-uniform metal deformation. The grid patterns are severely distorted in the corners of the die, indicate the formation of the dead zone. Then all metal it is collected the exit of the what die. Then where the what metal undergo least deformation, it absorbs the all pressure applied at the exit, then concentrated there. Then therefore deformation reduces. Then the friction at the container billet interface results in concentrated flow at the center. Then this is the common feature of direct extrusion and extrusion with insufficient lubrication. Such flow pattern may also exist when the billet surface is chilled by the cold walls of the container. Normally it should dies are to be preheated, container wall should be preheated for obtaining a homogeneous deformation and defect free extruded parts. So all these you have to consider while you are designing die also. Then coming to the other aspect, extrusion force for direct and indirect extrusion. Then it was indicated that indirect extrusion requires less power as compared to direct extrusion, because the metal will not be come in contact with the wall, friction reduces and even increasing lubrication, and furthermore friction can be reduced. Then the flat, it is shown here, the flat showing the ram force against the ram travel for direct and indirect extrusion, shown in the figure. Then the ram pressure at the beginning of the strokes rises to peak, then which is due to the what initial compression of the billet so has to fill container. The curve peak also indicate the initial resistance to start the extrusion process. The ram pressure corresponding to peak force is termed as a breakthrough pressure or peak force divided by the cross section area of the billet. Then in indirect extrusion, when the steady flow of the extrude starts, the ram travel, the force starts in decreasing gradually. This is because of reducing the friction at the container wall as the billet length reduces with the extrusion force. In indirect extrusion, once the extrusion process starts, the ram force remains almost constant with the ram travel. It can be seen that force required in this case is much lower, almost half of this as compared to the direct extrusion. This is because there is no relative motion between the billet and the container wall. Hence, the frictional resistance and ram force is smaller. The sudden rise in ram force at the end of the ram stroke in both cases indicate the increase of the resistance of the billet is nearly used up. Usually, at the end of the ram travel, a small portion of the billet is left as desired, contains defects and is unwanted part in the extruded part. So both we have discussed them. So in the direct extrusion, then ram force required very high because frictional forces and resistance are more than, and indirect force then because metal flow against the what ram, then because the ram it is designed in such a way that the mandrel it is attached and forces against the mandrel, then therefore in indirect extrusion reduces friction and resistance, then therefore peak pressure and ram travel corresponds to indirect extrusion or less than, therefore indirect extrusion is a better method, saves power and even then mechanical work required also less than. Coming to the what extrusion temperature, then as indicated to minimize extrusion force, then need for heavy extrusion pressures required, then it is preferred to perform hot extrusion. Most metals and alloys are extruded at elevated temperature so as to take advantage of improved ductility and use of lower extrusion forces. Typical temperature ranges used for hot extrusion of different metals, it is given in the figure. Then you look at the figure, then metal and alloy and temperature required in degree centigrade. For lead, then 200 to 250 degree centigrade. Aluminum alloys 375 to 450 degree centigrade. Copper and its alloys 650 to 950 degree centigrade. Steels 850 to 1300 degree centigrade. Refractory alloys 950 to 2200 degree centigrade. However, hot extrusion has added difficulties in process. First of all, high temperature and pressure condition result in excessive die wear, hence reduce the die life. If the container and die are cooled by external means, the extrusion produces non-uniform deformation of the metal with the severe dead zone combined with the high friction. In fact, to minimize the problem of non-uniform deformation, it is preferred to preheat the container and the dies. This preheating has another benefit of improving the die life. Also, due to high temperature, there are chances of formation of an oxide film around the billet. The oxide film so formed is very hard, results in high frictional losses and excessive die wear. In addition, the oxide film also affects the metal flow and deformation pattern. The surface finish of such products will be very poor. This problem of oxide film can be overcome either by heating the billet in an oven with inert atmosphere, or allowing the billet to form a cylindrical shell or skull as it is a type of defect formed at the end of the product. So all these are the what temperature effect then. So normally due to high temperature there are chances of formation of oxide films, and even then very high temperature and pressure condition result in excessive dye wear, hence reduced dye life. Then the container and dye are cooled by extremes somewhat, you have to provide a cooling arrangement. Then the extrusion produces non-uniform deformation with severe dead zone combined with high friction, form so many defects. Then therefore minimize problem in direct and extrusion discuss the extrusion processes. Then and with high temperature, as we already discussed, oxide film formed around the billet. Then this oxide film so formed is very hard, results in high frictional losses and excessive dye wear. In addition, oxide film also affect metal flow and deformation pattern. The surface finish also it destroys. This problem of oxide film can be overcome either by heating a billet in an oven or in an atmosphere. So therefore, for allowing the billet to form a cylindrical shell or a skull, therefore you can increase the life of the dye. Then coming to the what lubrication in extrusion process. Then. Since extrusion involves high frictional forces at the billet container interface and the die, it is essential to provide a good lubrication system. The lubricant for hot extrusion should have properties like low shear strength and high temperature stability. Glass is the most effective and widely used lubricant for extrusion of steel, stainless steel, and other high temperature alloys. Usually, powdered glass is coated on the surface of the hot billet while placing in a container. This takes care of friction between the billet and the container. To provide lubrication at the die surface, a circular glass pad is kept at the die entrance. Under the working conditions, this melt and forms molten reservoir of glass and lubricate die and metal interface as the extrusion process. The glass acts both as the lubrication and a thermal insulator, thereby reducing the thermal losses through the walls. So, other commonly used lubricants are molybdenum disulfide, lanolin, graphite, soap, tallow, etc. for metals like aluminum, copper, and other alloys. For certain materials that have a tendency to stick to the extrusion die container and they are toxic and radioactive in nature, so therefore jacketing or canning method is used there. Jacketing uses a thin walled container made up of low strength material such as a mild steel or copper in certain low temperature application in which the metal to be extruded is held there. The jacketing container reduces the friction at the die container wall and also prevents contamination of the billet, and also prevent environment pollution. Then such procedures are widely used in powder metallurgy techniques and extrusion of radioactive materials for nuclear application. Then the specific application, then however then jacketing it is difficult to form along with the extrusion process. Then normally they use a molybdenum disulfide, graphite, tallow, and even then glass. Then glass and glass powder. Then so that is more sufficient to avoid frictional losses and even then reduce friction between the billet and the container. Therefore, power loss can be minimized. Coming to the what extrusion equipment, then generally heavy duty hydraulic presses are used for extrusion process. These process may be either horizontal or vertical type. Vertical extrusion process are generally used for low capacity operations, normally in the range of 5 to 20 mega newton capacity. It is easier to obtain alignment of the push or ram and die cavity in vertical process. Then they require less floor area, and also they are most suitable for higher rate of production. But the length of the extruded product is limited then by the total height of the press and the room. For low capacity vertical presses, even crank and knuckle driven mechanical presses can also be used. On the other end, horizontal presses are most suitable for heavy duty and long products. They are widely used for manufacture of bars and various sections. They are designed in the range of 15 to 120 meganewton capacities. Unlike in vertical presses, the alignment of horizontal presses is a problem due to elastic deflection of the ram due to its own weight. This may lead to the defects like non-uniform wall thickness, eccentricity, and warping of tubes. Nothing but about bending of tubes. To obtain uniform and use forces, pneumatic and hydraulic accumulators are used. Higher ram speeds are used for hot extrusion process up to 0.5 meter per second. For metals susceptible to hot shorten like copper, magnesium, and aluminum, lower ram speeds are to be used, and accumulators are not essential. The ram for our punch or dies used in extrusion process are subjected to the high stresses and thermal shocks. The ram is subjected to high compressive loads, hence these processes should be built with a strong, robust foundation and structures. Generally, the container is provided with the liner, which is replaced after wear and tear. Then, so all these are to be considered while designing a extrusion equipment. Then coming to the what die design, extrusion die design. Then there are two types of generally used in extrusion process. These are illustrated here. Then one, it is a flat or square die, and another one, it is a conical die. So square or flat dies shown in figure for extrusion of non-ferrous metals such as aluminum and copper. Flat and square dies used for non-ferrous metals. In these dies, the flowing metal through the die forms the dead metal zone and forms a die geometry in the deformation zone. Due to this, the die entrance does not wear out fast. Moreover, dead zone gives a good surface finish on the extruded product if you use a flat or square. And the second type dies are of the conical shaped dies, which have a conical entrance shown in the figure. Then these are used mainly for ferrous materials. They require sufficient lubrication for good extrusion result. Higher die angles to certain extent increase the extrusion pressure, but reduce the friction in the die surfaces. A typical die angle is of 120 degree. It is clearly shown in the figure. The disadvantage of conical die is that as the die wears out, the length of the land increases, thereby reducing its strength and life. Then design of what extrusion dies, it is somewhat complicated for different metals and alloys. Flat and square for non-ferrous metals and alloys. Conical dies for hard metals, steel, stainless steels, and other tough metals with a higher degree of entrance, and even at the exit also providing a somewhat inclination with the horizontal plane. So, but these dies should be highly rugged, robust in nature, withstand very high extrusion forces and high temperature resistance also. Thermal expansion should be minimized then. Therefore, you can able to design uh, good extrusion dies by considering all these. Then coming to the extrusion die materials, then hot work die steels are widely used for hot extrusion dies. Zirconia coating is applied to the die surface to improve the die life. Zirconia coating. Partially stabilized zirconia dies used for hot extrusion of symmetric shapes, tubes and rods. However, such dies are not suitable for extrusion of complex shape then, since they develop uneven stresses in the die then. So, however, then normally carbon steels and other hard steels, tool steels can be used then. Along with this, zirconia coating is applied then, but in some other way it may affect the what die for producing a complex shape. Then they develop by because they develop uneven stress. Then all it is considered at the time of selection of die material for extrusion dies. Then all these aspects are very important for the examination point of view, and to understand extrusion process in depth, then students need to concentrate more on this. I hope you will study all these and answer the questions given you as an assignment in the later class then. Thank you.